Welcome to the Microcast, the short-form podcast from Microcosm Coaching, where we break down the science, strategy, and psychology behind smarter endurance training. Each week, we tackle a key concept in running, training, or recovery, and we give you practical tools you can apply right away, whether you're building back, leveling up, or chasing down a big goal. We keep it short, evidence-based, and grounded in real coaching experience. No hype, no fluff, just actionable insights to help you train sustainably and perform at your best. Let's get into it. We're back.
We are back.
Survived the weekend.
Barely.
I'm intact.
I'm
mostly
more or less intact. You know how I guess I'll just get right into it. Today we're going to recap our runs at the Run Rabbit 100.
Yeah.
Talk about what went right, what went wrong. And I just have to get this immediately off my chest. You know how when you run a ultramarathon, there's always some weird thing that happens to your body that has never happened before. You've never thought it could happen.
Yeah.
So my nose got extremely chafed.
How's
and
it
it's
feeling?
It hurts. It actively hurts. My septum is it's molting. You know, just 'cause I had a little bit of a nasal drip going for 20 hours.
Yeah.
So, my legs are feeling better. I did a yoga class. Legs are coming back online. Body's starting to feel okay. But my nose really hurts.
Well, it doesn't look weird. So
it did last night when the skin was actively falling off of it.
Oh God!
Sorry, guys.
I feel very grateful that I got through with no nose chafage.
No nose chafage
or chafage of any other areas.
Yeah, that was the only thing. That was my only chafe.
Which for a extremely wet race.
God bless.
I guess this being the third or fourth extremely wet race I've done in a row.
Yes.
My body has become wet resilient.
I mean, it does.
I'm water resilient.
Yes.
And resistant.
I think I talked about this. I definitely used to be a little afraid of running in weather.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit at the weather we did run through.
Are you afraid now?
I will say, no, I'm less afraid because now I'm okay, I know what to do. I know what gear to bring. I know how to fuel a little bit better. I know what to pay attention to. So exposure therapy works.
Yeah, it does. It
does. It gets better and easier.
You're tougher today than you were Friday.
100%.
At about
I feel
6 p.m.
I don't usually think of myself as an extremely tough person. I have a specific pillow that I have to sleep with that has a silk cover. I'm a print. I am a soft woman. I am not a hardened person. I use a silk eye mask to sleep, and it needs to have exactly the right amount of pressure on my eyes. So that's who I am, and so it feels good to have evidence that I can also be tough, even if I'm a little bit of a princess sometimes.
We contain multitudes.
Contain multitudes.
Right?
I both need a weighted blanket to sleep and can run for 20 hours in the rain.
It's very impressive.
I am yes and.
Yes and. So let's talk a bit about the race. I think, spoiler alert, you finished.
I did.
I did not.
Yep.
Did you meet your goal time?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I had an A goal, a B goal, a C goal, and a D goal. I got my C goal.
You got your C goal.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a pretty ambitious A goal, which is good. This is twice this year I've missed my A goal, and that's okay.
Yep.
They're still really important. My A goal ended up being the winning time because it was not a very fast year just because of the conditions. Great, strong, competitive women's field, but it was it was horrific conditions. So I was flexible, and then I pivoted to okay, I'll add an hour to my A time. That slipped right by, and I was you know what? Let's just go for the course PR for myself. Let's go for course PR and add 2 hours to my original time.
So would you say mental flexibility for you was really a defining characteristic of this race?
Yeah, so I was paying really close attention to my splits early on. It was, in fact, a little ahead of my splits, but feeling great and running with a couple other women. Really felt like I was running within myself, and then a giant snowstorm hit. And I knew, and then I got quite cold, and I stopped at a crew point around 50K in the snowstorm.
Take us to that moment, because that is a pivotal moment in the race.
Yes.
I don't think we need to do a step-by-step,
No,
play-by-play recap,
we
but
do not.
you're talking about the Summit Lake aid station.
Yep.
This is something that our listeners have likely already read about if they follow some pros on social media.
Internet.
There's been a lot of talk around like that storm and safety during races. Okay, so you were ahead of your splits going into that point of the race.
Yes.
Okay, take us to that moment. Let's hear about how it all unfolded.
So, I had a hard time finding my crew because it was just like a whiteout, like literally could barely see. Finally found my crew, and I had made an error of my warm clothes were not with this person. They were somewhere else. Thankfully, your warm clothes, your backup warm clothes, were with this person.
Oh shit bag.
Your oh shit bag
was up.
My oh shit bag was at the halfway point because looking at the weather forecast, it made sense at the time. So, giving myself grace. So I had to immediately, I lost, I used to work in Alaska, and I got really bad frostbite in my hands when I was working out there. So when my hands get really cold, they basically just like stop working. Like they were frozen like lobster claws. So I had a really hard time. I couldn't do any of the things at my drop bag myself. Like I couldn't undo my vest. I couldn't take gels in or out. Like I just could not use my hands. So that stop took a long time because I had to have our friend Jordan do all the things. I had to like completely change clothes, put on pants, change shirt because I was just soaked through, shivering. And I'll just be honest and say that like I never felt like genuinely in danger.
Right.
I do believe that if there had been worse circumstances, I would trust the race organizers to make a different call. And I don't feel that it was appropriate to cancel the race, and I'm not insinuating that.
Right.
I never felt unsafe. I definitely felt uncomfortable. Definitely had the feeling of like making bad decisions now will have real consequences that you have to think about and you have to consider. And the margin for error here isn't just like, will you have a good time or not? The margin for error here is safety, health, and well-being. So it was sort of a consequential feeling. And it took me like 20 minutes at that crew stop just because
you're at Summit Lake for 20 minutes.
Probably. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I had to fully change, and that knocked me right off my splits. Because like literally I couldn't unzip things. I couldn't my hands were not working.
And was it actively
blizzarding?
Okay, it was blizzarding.
It was actively blizzarding, and I was shivering pretty bad. So like I also had this like I knew I needed to like get out of there as soon as I could. But I also knew that it wouldn't be smart to like rush out and not have food, not have water, not like take the time and be like, do I have the gear I need? Is this going to carry me the next like 14 miles, I think, to the next like crew stop.
Right.
So got put your jogging pants on, which we are not exactly the same size, so that was interesting.
We are not, and those are like a little bit big for me.
Yeah, so they were extremely large for me.
I'm surprised you took the jogging pants and didn't take the waterproof pants.
I did not see waterproof pants. Had I seen those, I absolutely would have put those on.
They were in there.
That's nice to know now. I'm learning this for the first time.
Did you take the big blue jacket that's almost like a ski jacket?
I took the lighter shell.
You took the lighter? Oh,
Yeah.
You actually took the stuff that I was going to wear if things were normal in the race. You didn't actually go to the really heavy-duty ocean stuff. I had a full like Gore-Tex, like almost like a ski jacket in there.
That would have been really nice to know.
And rain pants. And I had gloves, really warm gloves with like a waterproof.
I did get your gloves. I took your gloves.
Okay. I hope to get those back.
They're somewhere. They're somewhere.
I did spend $50 on those before the race.
I actually bought those. I floated you for those.
You floated those for me?
My debit card, so you owe me for those.
Those are okay. So those are the ones that you bought us before.
So technically, I own two pairs of gloves now.
How did they work? Did they work well?
They were great. Yeah, they worked very well.
All right, good to know.
But all of that is to say, it was like definitely not a lot of margin for error. I really wanted to both be efficient, but also not rushed, but also had some like real physiological issues related to the cold that I needed to address. So got got all my stuff and got out of there as effectively as I could. And once I started running, I immediately warmed up, which was the good news, because I was like in really tough shape when I saw our crew. Like I was visibly shivering, and like had you not had those additional layers, that I would not have been able to continue just for safety.
Damn.
So that's
That's
very
pretty.
fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a catalytic moment in your
Yeah.
race. I mean, literally, you're going to DNF or you're going to go on to finish fifth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I also like in that moment, I was like, this is pretty extreme weather. This, like, you need to be really focused on the now. You need to not be focused about like your time and your splits, because that all goes out the window, because these are mitigating circumstances and you need to start adjusting now. So I really consciously made the decision of like letting that A goal, like letting that go in that moment, because I knew immediately I was going to be off my splits for taking so long in the aid station, but needing to, and that making the difference between continuing and not continuing. So that was sort of how I encountered the storm. And I was like that's the high point of the race. So I was at
Right.
the highest altitude in that storm, and it was pretty bad. My eyes got all scratched up, and we'll circle back to that in a minute. But
I want
it
to ask,
yeah,
because I hear a lot of flexibility
yeah.
in this. And I want to, for the listeners, I don't want to just go through a race recap and, here's how my race went. What takeaways, what did you do in training? What have you done over the last few years? What has helped you get to that point where you were able to pivot seamlessly?
I mean, I don't know that it was seamless, because
Yeah,
I
it was pretty
was no,
seamless.
I was internally I was pretty frustrated, and
Okay.
I didn't want to let that eagle go.
Okay.
Like I wasn't like, yay, it's there goes my, like, I had spent a lot of time studying my splits, identifying how I needed to execute to make that happen. I put a lot of work and thought into that, and I had to kiss that goodbye at 50K. And it wasn't seamless, but it was also the right thing to do, the necessary thing to do, and the only thing to do. And another way that I practiced that was when we did that 75-mile race in Chianti. Similarly, I had a certain set of splits, and the weather was, again, totally heinous and extremely muddy. And just because of physics, that's going to impact your, like, how you're able to execute on the course. And my A goal is always going to be a goal that requires near perfect execution and near perfect conditions, just by the nature of how I create A goals.
Sure.
And because of that, I also do have like a talk with myself of like, I know that this requires things coming together. Therefore, I always have the B goal that's accessible to me when things don't come together that are outside of my control, like weather. But I wouldn't say it was seamless, because
So there was friction.
I had an attachment to the goal, as you
Yeah.
should. Like if you at 50K in your race gleefully let go of your A goal, you need to get right with God, because you have not connected enough to your competitive outcome.
I can tell that struck a chord with you. And I'm just curious about that. If there should be attachment to the A goal, obviously, or it's
Yeah,
going to be very hard to achieve that goal, right? But also, if we're too attached, then we DNF
right.
because we can't get that A goal.
Yeah.
So, what did you tell yourself in that moment when you knew you had to detach?
I was like, perspective. I was really glad that the race wasn't like there was a moment
Right.
where I was just like, I am grateful. I am still running. Like I am
That's
okay.
cool.
I am safe. The race is still going on, because like there was definitely a moment where it was so bad I was like, I could see them pulling us off.
Oh, definitely.
That wouldn't have surprised me at all. I was like almost like almost expecting it.
Yeah.
And that was a gratitude reset where I was like, this is awesome. I get to keep running, focus on that. And I do think that like frankly, my nervous system was pretty rattled by the weather and by getting so cold that I started to feel uncomfortable again, like not like genuinely unsafe, but to the point where again, like there are consequences to not taking care of yourself and not making the right decision, and knowing that there are ways I could have not been okay there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And my nervous system was pretty rattled from that. And so my first priority was like just bring the nervous system like back in check. Like you're safe, we're fine, we're good. Look, you're eating candy, like we're running. This is great. Like
Were you eating candy?
I think I had grabbed some candy at the aid
Or is that
station.
just what you call
Um,
never second
that's
now?
what I call never second now. So it was a prioritization, and because I'm not insane, I knew in that moment that like focusing more on taking care of myself, making sure I'm okay, and getting to the next aid station, that superseded my desire to stick to the splits. So
Right.
again, I'm not saying it was like effortless and I was like, yay, it's fine, Beagle, here we go. Cause like I
Yeah.
worked really, really hard and I really, really wanted to do that thing. But then I got dealt a different hand and I really tried to consciously be like, okay, sucks I didn't have, like a royal flush, but let's see what cards I have now. What can I do with these cards?
Mm, I love that. I just learned so much there to apply for myself at future races. I think that's
Steal from other people's drop bags.
I was talking with, I had 5 athletes racing this race.
Yeah.
Um, two of them was their first ever 100.
Amazing.
Uh, one had attempted the race last year and didn't finish. Another has done 100 before and was looking to build off of their past experiences and step up to a harder race.
Yeah.
And then another had done the race last year as an elite and did very well and was looking to build on that performance. And in talking to every single one of those athletes before the race, that idea of on race day, you have to play the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
And it's about how well can you play that hand.
Yeah.
That really makes the difference.
Yeah.
Because who knew that there was going to be a horrible storm during
Yeah.
this race? I mean,
Not
I
me.
honestly looked at the weather. I knew it was going to rain at
Yeah.
about 6 o'clock.
I had a shell. I had a light shell.
Did I know that it was going to be
like a biblical ass weather event?
I mean, honestly, I thought the conditions were dangerous.
Yeah.
Straight up, I thought they were
Yeah.
really dangerous, especially if you were somebody who was not prepared. And there was many
There were
elites who were in front of me who it didn't look like they had much warm weather gear. And I had the bare minimum. All I
Yeah.
had was a jacket
Yeah.
because I was like, that will be fine for the weather that I've seen around here recently. And I won't need anything much more
Yeah.
than that until later because
Yeah.
it will be colder. Well, you know what? A lot of times in the mountains, actually, what happens when these big storms come in is the temperature comes down a lot. And then you get snow, you get freezing rain,
Yeah.
you get it, and it's really intense. So
It was the worst weather I've experienced. Maybe running, like definitely in competition. I feel like I've had a couple like real shit days running, but it's like this is a top 3 worst ever.
It was similar to that long run we did in Portugal where we were trying to do like 25 miles, but it was like take that amount of precipitation and turn it into ice and rain.
Yes.
So it was a really high level
Correct.
of bad.
And
it was not.
And that's pretty early in the race.
Very early.
That's for me, I was at 50K. So again, like I wasn't happy to let my original goal go, but I also like, what are you going to do? Like I allowed myself to be like, that sucks. Like that's not the day. That's okay. That's why we have flexible goals. That's why we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G goals.
When you work with athletes, do you typically have them have as many as like 4 different goals for
I
this?
usually just do A goal, B goal, and C goal.
Okay.
Eagle, beagle, seagull for the AI transcript here. And, for me, I had like 3 pretty distinct time goal. Like it was just an accident I had 4, basically. Because, I mean, with 100 miles and like the aggressive time goal I was going for, it opens up the margin for error. So I wanted to, again, like I had thought through knowing like there's a good bit of room for me to fall short of this. So let me make sure that landing is as accommodating as possible.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think that naturally allows you to be more mentally flexible. And I also, something that I heard was, kind of a consistent like restructuring of your thoughts around the situation and continuing to lean on the idea that you are grateful just to be out there racing no matter what, and not taking that for granted.
Yeah.
That's just obviously a very powerful attitude to have in any challenging situation, but particularly one where you're like, maybe I could get really sick, or I could get hurt, or I
Yeah.
could get like SAR rescued out of here. If I don't make it to this next aid station,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get hypothermia or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, all thoughts that I had, that you have told me that you had in that those moments in the race, and that I've also heard from other runners too.
Yeah, and it really, like, I when I rolled into the next aid station, I told my crew, I was like, "That was really intense," and there was a second where I didn't think I would be okay, but I am okay. So that's good. Like, I had to,
So
like,
that's good.
externalize because, like, I was like, "Man, I just went through something really messed up," and, like, I need to, like, know that that's, like, that other people were like, "Yeah, that was really hard, that was really messed up,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that was helpful and validating. I'm curious for you what that situation meant and looked like.
Well, I was a little in front of you. I
Yes.
wasn't that far in front of you at that point in the race, because we hadn't been out there for that
Yeah.
long. But one of the one of the interesting things that I found in the beginning of this race was that it kind of felt like twilight the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
that storm was like impending for
It
hours.
was
It
gray
was
the whole day.
so dark and gray. I was like, did I make a mistake not bringing my headlamp like at the start of this thing? What time is it?
Yeah.
That felt really off for me. And I think that created some strange mental
Mm.
hurdles that I had to work through on the way to Summit.
Yeah.
And then I was going into Summit, and that storm had started, and it was coming down sheets of rain. The
It was, like,
snow,
sideways.
yeah, like,
It groveled. Like, I saw every form of precipitation within, like, the span of 3 hours. Like,
right.
grapple, we've got hail, we've got freezing rain, we've got normal rain, we've got snow, we had, like, just, like, ambient ice,
I
we
was
had cold fog.
I was soaked like
I was soaked.
pretty immediately.
Yeah,
And so that was rough.
that's not
And I
ideal.
had to, like, I got to the crew, to Jordan. I was like, I kind of had to make a choice. Like, I wasn't that cold.
Yeah.
But I had to make a choice. Like, do I switch to a dry jacket,
Mhm.
and then, now I don't have a jacket up here for later in the
Yeah.
night when I probably really want dry stuff. And I didn't really want to deal with that at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? This is gonna be fine. Like, I'll be running, I'll be good. So I just grabbed my stuff, same jacket, and left. And then, that was kind of a mistake, because
Mhm.
I was borderline like too cold
Yeah.
for the whole descent to Dry Lake.
Yeah.
Um, but I ended up. It was funny because I came through there, and then John Harrison also came in behind me,
Yeah.
and we ran essentially like most of the section all the way to Dry Lake together, and that we kind of teamed up, and that was very helpful
Yeah.
in offloading some of we were both nervous
Yeah.
about how wet it was.
Yeah.
He was really cold. I was also really cold. We both talked about how it was impacting our fueling, and
Yeah.
like our nervous systems were feeling kind of hijacked at that point.
Yeah.
But like, we eventually, I think we ended up working, then two tortoises maybe jumped in, and
Mhm.
we were like four
Yeah.
running down into the dark until John just was on one, and he
Yeah.
just took off, and then it
Yeah.
was us three. Um that helped.
Yeah.
I was actually really annoyed in the beginning of this race by the other racers around me.
Interesting.
Um I
I
got
was
really
running with
frustrated.
other women and vibing, so that's kind of my happy place, and that was really exciting.
uh I'm sorry, but like, this happens, traditionally, and we have the research to back this up. Men go out too hard,
It's
and
actually the gap is closing. The gap is closing.
women are going out too hard now.
Women are going out more aggressively and men are going out more conservatively.
Well,
If you look at the aggregate,
this
like,
wasn't an issue with the female runners that I
yes,
encountered in the race,
correct.
who were, in front of me and were passing me
Yes,
later in
I'll
the race.
I'll let you say that men are dumb. I won't interrupt you. Do it.
There were people around me who were like, "This is my first 100," and like, I'm just like, "Why are you 1 foot behind me?
Yeah.
Like, either pass me or or go away.
Yeah.
Like, I felt really annoyed by the groupings
Mm.
of the runners. And there was one guy who was behind me, and he was burping so loud and
Ugh.
vomiting,
Oh no,
and
I
then
don't like
catching
that.
up to me, and then pulling over to vomit, and then
Oh, that's
catching
not
up to
very fun.
me. And I was annoyed by it. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say,
tough.
like, I just kind of wanted to like run my like, and I know it's a race and there's other runners out there. Um, I just couldn't get a good
Yeah.
feel because there was just too many people like striving to pass and obviously pushing themselves too hard. I think a lot of those people ended up dropping, but so did I, but for different reasons.
There like 155 hairs started and like 50 finished.
Damn.
So like
Fuck.
only a third of the elite field finished
That
the
is
race.
really
It's
insane.
historically low.
Yeah. Anyways, I was frustrated by that. That pushed me in ways mentally that I hadn't been prepared for. I guess in a lot of these races, I kind of just run like alone.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to really enjoy that. I
Yeah.
don't really want to be in a train with other runners. I don't really want to like follow anybody else unless there's like a real reason for it. Like
Yeah.
when I was running with John, it's like,
Yeah.
I like John. He's a great
Yeah.
guy, great attitude. Let's go. We both had similar goals.
Yeah.
And that felt good. But I think, I don't know, races are weird. Sometimes you get into like a weird headspace
Yes.
out there. Things bother you that like,
Yeah.
and
That like wouldn't normally because
yeah.
you're already tired, your brain is looking for other things to focus on. Yeah, I mean, I again, like I was scared leaving that 50K aid station. So to sort of like help rewrite the ship, I had like one podcast downloaded that I was like, this is my special podcast.
Okay, did you listen to something through there? Because I
Yes.
thought about that. I was like, man, this is hard. This would be a great time to throw on some music. And I just didn't want to take my hands. I didn't have gloves. I didn't want to take my hands out from inside my jacket
I had my crew do it for me
to
because I
put
literally
music
couldn't.
on or anything. I
Yeah.
was like, I don't even know if my phone's functioning.
I
This
was
is
worried
bad.
my phone was going to get wet, but I put on a podcast about Paul Thomas Anderson, and
Nice.
that helped. I was like, okay, this is like familiar things. I'm thinking, I'm like, it's like nice to have just like thoughts about things that aren't like, oh my God, am I going to be okay? So
Well, again, I
that
think,
was helpful.
what are some takeaways for people who are listening? Another great takeaway is
The filmography of Paul Thomas Anderson is so deep that there is, in fact, a 2.5 hour long podcast you can listen to that assesses it, and not even at length.
and it's not just about Paul, but it's about just like changing something up.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
moments where you're feeling adversity or you're feeling friction, change something up.
Yep.
And so putting on a podcast, putting on music, teaming up with a friend when you like to run by yourself.
Yeah.
Those things are very, very helpful and can carry you through.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When was the next, I don't know, moment of friction for you in the race?
I was running pretty well. I started to notice that I thought things were like kind of foggy. And I changed into a more powerful headlamp at about 50 miles. And there was a 12-mile section, which was like a climb and then a long descent. And I was having a lot of trouble running on the technical downhills, I thought, because of the fog. So
Right.
I rolled into the aid station and I complained to my crew, Kylie. I was like, man, this fog is making it really hard to see. And she was like, sorry, but there's not fog. So what's going on?
It's not foggy.
And I was like, oh, what? Because I was having really bad vision issues.
Right.
I had gray blobs in both of my fields of vision in the center. So like my
Wow.
periphery was clearer, but I had significant like fog in my, like looking through like a foggy like shower. Like if you have like a glass shower before you squeegee it, that's what my vision looked like. And it made running downhill on technical terrain at night a little difficult. So that was challenging and a little bit scary because I was like, I don't know what is happening. And it was also like, it hurt. Like it was pretty, like there was like a pressure, like it felt like there was something in both of my eyes. And I had like Kylie look, and she's like, I don't see anything. It looks like a little milky, like they look kind of like watery, maybe. And lo and behold, it turns out I had something called ultramarathon-induced corneal edema, which I had never heard of
This is
before.
a real medical
It's a
condition,
real medical
according
condition.
to iWiki.
No, it's like a real medical
This
condition.
is real.
This is real. It's a thing. There are multiple case studies of it.
Okay, all right. Let's link to
So
those in the notes for people,
a
because
corneal,
this isn't the first time
yeah,
we're hearing about this. And I actually had an athlete who did also, he finished,
yeah.
but he had the same situation during this race.
It was pretty. I mean, it was aggravating at best, and then like again, I was also like, are my eyes okay? Is this gonna be how I am forever?
Right.
Or like, am I going insane? Like, am I just like, am I insane now? Is that what's happening? Like, did I get too cold and like my brain isn't gonna like? Thought that maybe like the snow had scratched my eyes and like maybe I had done like irreparable damage because like the vision issues were significant. I had I had photosensitivity. I was really sensitive to light and halos. And again, the majority of this race is at night, so that is really not ideal. So
let's take a detour to just talk about this for folks, raise a little awareness around ultramarathon-induced corneal edema.
I spent so much of this weekend Googling this. Shout out to Ryan Sullivan, who got 4th in the men's field, who was a doctor who took one look at my eyes and was like, yeah, you have ultramarathon-induced corneal edema. So love you, Rye. So that's when the corneal edema is when swelling of the cornea, which is the clear, like front surface of your eye, due to fluid accumulation. And that fluid that accumulates is like why you can't see through it. Because like literally it's like your windshield is fogged up.
Right. So blurry vision, foggy vision, looking through those frosted glasses. Why does this happen?
So looking at the list of why this happens, it's almost like a checklist of just like everything that Run Rabbit is. Hypoxia, reduced oxygen delivery, excessive UV exposure, dehydration and electrolyte imbalance, mechanical stress, and systemic fatigue. So for those of you keeping track at home, I had all 5 of those. So if you're doing long-term exercise at altitude or like in other extreme conditions, it lowers the oxygen to the tissue of your cornea, and that impairs fluid regulation. Also, lactate accumulation can impair that. Like, even if you're not going at like a near lactic threshold effort, which ideally in a 100 you're not, you're still accumulating some amount of like lactate is being accumulated throughout your body, and that can do this to your eyes, I guess, I learned. If you spend a lot of time outside and at high altitude or on like snow or bright surfaces, that can damage the corneal endothelial cells that are those cells that normally pump out that fluid. If you are dehydrated or have too much sodium relative to your fluid intake, that altered osmotic balance can make it harder for the cornea to regulate fluid. Mechanical stress, there can be like sort of like an acute mechanical instance that brings this on, like wind, dust, cold, or poorly ventilated eyewear can compromise the cornea. And systemic fatigue. If you have prolonged exertion, that shifts blood flow and your metabolic priorities, and that can impair blood function. And like, yeah, I absolutely know that my body was like, yep, eyes not the priority, like anything else.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll be honest that like I was pretty scared because like my vision was really fucked for like over half of the race. But it did resolve like within a day. So that was good. And now I'm kind of like, oh, this is like, it's like sort of like a perverse, like, oh, so fascinating. Like the human body is so weird. All the delightful, terrible things it can do when you make it run for 20 hours.
I think it's a good idea to consider for you, because this has happened before, having lubricating eye drops in your crew bag. And also to consider wearing like a clear lens glasses at night.
I will do that next time.
Yeah, I'm sure this was exacerbated by the fact that, you know, that storm and the sideways like rain, snow and sleet, and it was coming uphill across, like at least in the section where I was really in it. It was coming across the mountain and uphill. So the direction of the wind was blowing it directly in like everyone's face. And in everyone's eyes.
Like I had initially assumed that like the ice had like cut my eyes, because like that's the weather we were running through. So I was like, yeah, the surface of my eyes is just got, you know, sandpapered by the weather.
But... Oh my God, that's So how did you put that aside and then just continue to
I just
do your thing?
kept I could physically continue to run, not to my potential necessarily, but it wasn't getting significantly worse, wasn't getting significantly better. I also, like, when I went to the Long Lake aid station, Scott Jurek was there, and I told him what was happening, and he's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. You should probably just try to finish." And I was like, "Yeah, great." So when I felt like I had Scott Jurek's blessing, I was like, "All right,
Right. As
we
long
can
as
do
Scott
this."
said it was fine, you're
Yeah,
good to go.
Scott said I'm good. But like that also was like a little bit scary and uncomfortable, and I feel better about it again. Like I was more worried about the long term of like, oh my god, is this just gonna be like how my eyes are? But also it definitely made running technical terrain really cumbersome. So I fell many times.
Oh,
That was also challenging, but also it was mud, so like I didn't get hurt from the falls, so that was nice.
yeah.
But I was just kind of like wobbling all over the place because I couldn't see extremely well. I will also say this is pretty rare. It like there was one study that said it happened, like a survey that said it happens in like less than 4% of like all the like across like 4% of the people in this survey said it ever happened to them. This is my fifth 100 and the first time it's happened like this. So
And this is the second time you've done Run Rabbit, and it didn't
second time
happen
I've
the
done Run
first time.
Rabbit. Yes, but apparently like Run Rabbit is specifically bad for corneal edemas. Courtney DeWalter had it when she did it. Yeah, Ling Ling got it last year. And again, because it's like a checklist of all the like risk factors of UV exposure, high altitude, dehydration, mechanical stress, and systemic fatigue. So
Right.
which of those things was the thing that did it? IDK. But
Well,
this was a new experience for
probably
me.
compounding stress.
Right. Yeah. I
I think
mean,
there's
yeah.
also a lot of central nervous system fatigue.
Correct. So I'm glad that I didn't let it stop me, even though it bothered me quite a bit. It was
Hey,
not ideal.
no. And
It's
that's
not what you
also
want.
terrifying.
It was a little scary. But again, I was like, if I quit, that's probably not going to solve it either. So I guess like if I'll be blind, I'll do it with one more belt buckle.
Yeah, in the reading that I did ahead of the podcast, just to look up uh to look into this more, because I was discussing it with an athlete earlier today. This tends to resolve really quickly once you're
Yeah.
done with the
Yes.
event. So things do normalize.
Yes.
I don't know of anybody who's been left like with long-term issues.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you happen to be running an ultra marathon and you get a corneal edema that doesn't resolve within a day, that is like kind of a separate issue, likely related to factors potentially related to, but also extraneous to ultra marathoning.
Yeah.
So this is like again, not great, but also I'm like, the more you know, fascinating.
Right.
Like didn't know that could happen, that you run so hard your eyes just stop working. So I can laugh about it now.
You
But it was
weren't
not the most
laughing about it after the race.
because it hurt and I'd just been like, messing with my eyes for like a day. So that was that definitely sort of added a lens of like an additional level of complication to the whole experience. So that was kind of one of my big challenges in the race. I will also say that probably around mile 67, 68, I was running up the Spring Creek Trail and I ran into you,
Yeah.
which was surprising.
Not to me. I was just waiting. Like, which person is it going to be?
Yeah, I actually didn't. I was like, I'm pretty sure I mumbled like, "Good job," and then I was looking at the ground and I recognized your shoes, and I was like, "Wait, who are you?"
So when I got to Olympic Hall too,
Hmm.
I was like, "How far back is Zoe?"
Yeah,
And Kyla's like, "At least an hour."
yeah.
So you made up a lot of time,
I ran that section. That was one of my like.
and you were great. You looked really good. You took off running on that little gradual uphill, and yeah, you looked awesome.
That was one of my process goals, was to run that section well. So I owned that and I did that. Check. Flexible goals.
Did you
Process
run
goals.
most of that section?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I hiked like a couple little tiny bits of it that are like
There's a few steep
not
spots.
useful to run.
Yeah, there's
And I
a
was-
couple
yeah.
steep, like 25, 30
Yeah,
foot hills.
But when I did that race the first time, I hiked the entirety of that section.
Wow.
So I was like, that's not how I do that this time. So
Damn, you hiked that whole thing.
I did.
Did you hike the whole thing from Spring all the way to Summit? your first race?
Yeah, probably.
Wow. I mean, that like is
It's a long ass hike.
markedly different
Yes.
difference in performance.
Yes.
Over how many years ago was that? 2?
2.
Wow.
All you have to do is train consistently at a high level for 2 years. So easy.
It's worth it though, because
And you'll run 2 sections of your next 100 better.
I mean, like when I finally had to just, okay, you can't run anymore.
Yeah.
On that section, I dropped down to doing like 2.5 miles an hour pace.
You were getting your hike on.
And I was not hiking. I was walking. There's a difference between a hike and a walk. Like a hiking
pace. It was not
pace,
a super purposeful walk.
Hiking pace on that trail, you could probably do 14 to 18 minute miles. I was like doing 20 plus minute miles. And I calculated how long it would take me to get to Summit Lake. And I was like, no, there's absolutely no way I'm going to walk this whole thing. That's absurd.
Okay. So I want to ask 2 questions. First one being, what happened? Like, how did we get here?
We got here because I made mistakes.
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made. Why was I walking instead of hiking and running?
You're typically the person who, you tend to run races.
Yes.
I did get to see you. It was very validating to me to see you walking. I don't get to see that. It's a real treat for
you. Like
obviously,
that. It made you feel good.
No, I never want to see you suffering. I never want to see you not doing well. As good as it feels to pass you, it's not what you want.
You miss the uncontrollable full body shakes and shivers that like literally had occurred like 3 minutes before.
When I saw
passed.
you really looked like you had made peace with death. And what was happening to you.
It was not a good situation.
It looked like a place of profound acceptance for you.
Yes. It's not because I don't respect people who are hiking to Summit Lake.
Yes.
It's just that it would have been very unsafe for me to attempt to do that, nor was that in alignment with my values.
So I do want to hear, and then maybe you'll tell me
what was the why?
What was the mistake? We'll go back to the actual specific mistake, but I do think like we here, like DNFs are my whole thing. I literally had a podcast called DNF that started after
but you never talk about your DNFs on this podcast.
No, I had an entire other podcast about all my failures where I just
years ago
at length
other people's
monologued about my failures. I also talked about my failures. I literally had Ben Gibbard like coach me up on a breakup. So I put it out there. So I'm pretty comfortable with like the Leadville DNF. Owned that. I also DNF'd at Western States, and that one hurts worse because I had been given a sponsor bib, and it was like a real A. It'll take me so long to get back into Western States.
Yeah.
B, I had been given this amazing opportunity to like level up as an elite athlete and have like a brand partner, and I just absolutely blew it in like a really dramatic fashion.
That's tough. That's hard.
And that in a public way, like. The brand was like making videos about me, and it really sucks to like be crying into a bowl of tater tots with like a camera in your face. Like that's not ideal. And I think that, I was able to move through it, but I've also had like other failures in my life that because of that, sometimes I had varying degrees of resilience around wanting to own my failures publicly, I don't ever believe I owe anyone my story. I like to be vulnerable when it feels good for me, when the boundaries are right, and when it's like helpful for folks, and when I'm in a trusted space like now and it feels good because I have a little more failure resilience because I survived the Run Rabbit Snowpocalypse of 2025. And again, like I've just, I've had like I'm scared of letting people down, and I'm scared of people looking at me and saying like, she's actually not that good a runner. Like she doesn't deserve the sponsor bib, or like, is she actually even elite? And so
let's talk about that because, I don't think it's helpful to like go into all of the why behind why I DNF'd. Like I DNF'd because I screwed up my hydration, I believe, somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
And I got really nauseous and started throwing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a hard and fast rule at races of 100 miles that I will not continue if I can't take in fuel and if I can't take in fluids, because I've already done that twice. and I had catastrophic problems in recovery
Yeah.
after as a result of that. And I just, that's my hard line.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Could I have marched it in 12, 15 hours? Yeah, maybe. Would that have been probably pretty unsafe in the cold? Yeah. But I
I
think it would have been way worse for my recovery after, and having had already, I had already drawn the line in the sand. That's
Yeah.
my line. I'm not going
Yes.
to do races if I can't fuel them. I'm not going to do races if I can't hydrate them.
Like my heuristic is always um like prioritize long-term health and well-being. And
Exactly.
so running on empty or like walking on empty, that's not prioritizing your long-term
No.
health and well-being. It's not quitting when things get hard too, right? And I think that like culturally our conversation around DNFs is like so not nuanced and so ruled by people's feelings around them, which
Right.
like I get failure, like again, I've had like so many really public failures, you know, like I was let go by outside in like a whole thing like over a year ago, and like after becoming editor-in-chief of Trail Runner. And so like that's like my whole brand has been like, can I fail even more publicly? And managed to like write a bunch of podcasts about it. But I don't think it's okay to glorify doing things that are unsafe. And I do believe that and I didn't tell you this, but I told our crew, I was like, the way he's moving, I don't know that it's safe for him to keep going, but I think you guys should assess him since you're cognitively all there. That was my input. And like,
It wasn't great.
it wasn't great. And again, it wasn't like, oh, like you can just walk it in. I think that if you're not moving well and you can't regulate your core temperature, yeah, there's no glory in hiking into a situation where not only do you put yourself at risk, but like I was search and rescued off the Leadville course in like, what was it, 2017, 2018? I donate to Lake County Search and
Yeah, I
Rescue
mean, there's
every
also
year.
those guys, there's the crew.
Yeah, you're putting other people at risk.
It's just unnecessary.
And
So
I thought you did a really good job of not letting emotions make that decision for you and prioritizing long-term health and well-being. And you said something really interesting to me was continuing was not living out my core value of excellence. And I was wondering if you could explain that to me because I think that's really interesting.
well, I think it's two things, right? Like the way that I want to show up and perform at races is one part of excellence.
Yeah,
It's not a utter blind adherence to the A goal.
right.
And if things don't go perfectly, then, fuck it, I'm done. Let me
Yeah,
go race something else.
right,
There are a series of other goals to fall back on.
right.
And like, yeah, like similar to you, like I got off my splits, like going into Summit.
Yeah,
And I knew I was coming back off things a little bit. But my job was just to stem that bleeding.
mhm,
How fast can I be? I didn't have like another specific goal
mhm,
necessarily. But it was just like, all right, cool. Can I stay on this pace? Like I knew
yes,
exactly, all right, I'm not on 17:45 anymore. I'm
yeah,
on 18:15. How long can I stay on 18:15?
yeah,
And that was really cool. And
yeah,
I enjoyed that because like I definitely mentally, I wasn't like where I necessarily wanted to be. I wasn't feeling as much joy during this race as
yeah,
I felt sometimes in other events. I could see my paces just continually dropping throughout the day. That was really tough
mhm,
mentally to continue to adjust to. The way I was moving, it wasn't where how I thought I would. I just had to keep adjusting, right? And so when I, get to that place and it's like excellence is adjusting.
yeah,
And so excellence is continuing to do the best you can with the cards you're dealt.
yeah,
And I got
yes,
around Olympian, and going around Olympian, in the lane of pain, I was like, oh, I'm dealing with some pretty nausea. Headlamp really sucks. Like
we've got to get
it's
you a
just
new
not
headlamp.
bright
No.
enough. It's a brand new headlamp. It's just not bright enough.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be great. It's not. Uh, Hit me up on Slack. I will tell you which headlamp not to buy for your next ultra. Finally got down there and I had like totally made peace. I was like, yeah, this is a 20-hour 100 for me.
Uh-huh.
That's still great.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Mhm.
And going up Spring Creek, I had a plan like
Mhm.
I can run this. I know
Mhm.
I can run this whole thing. Doesn't matter if it's a 13-minute mile instead of 11-minute mile.
Yeah.
Whatever was planned on. And like I just couldn't control the nausea there.
Yeah.
And like that's when, things were really outside of my control.
Mm.
and hiking. Now
Yeah.
I'm nauseous hiking. Now I'm
Yeah.
nauseous walking.
Yeah.
Now I'm throwing up. Now I can't get warm. My whole
Yeah.
nervous system shutting down. All right, well, we still have 3 miles to go to the top of Dry Lake.
Yeah.
Well, a lot can happen there.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can rally.
Yeah.
So I do the thing that I always do. I keep drinking.
Yep.
I keep eating. I go right back on my
Right.
thing because
How'd that work?
it just didn't take.
Oh no.
You know, it didn't take.
Oh no.
And that's where like I kind of get what you're talking about. We don't talk about it that much on this podcast, but like the voices that come in when you're confronted with not reaching your goal.
Mhm.
You know, am I a failure? Am I worthy of love and acceptance? How am I letting people down? You know, what will people think of me?
Yeah.
And so I welcome it in.
Yeah.
Like I'm grateful for these experiences because it gives me a litmus test to check where am I in this process.
I know, I've been like like I feel like I keep being like, "Hey, how are you?" And to my chagrin, you keep being like, "I'm a normal functioning adult man who doesn't place all of my identity and self-worth in running, and therefore I am pretty okay."
Well, and I think that's probably a little bit of the difference between me having to like walk in CCC
Mhm.
and like questionably walk in Leadville. I was just really close to the finish at Leadville where it wasn't unsafe. And I think for, you know, it was fine to do it.
Mhm.
First 100, get it done. I only had to walk in about 12 miles. It was 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's way different than 12 to 15 hours.
In different environmental
In
conditions.
very different environmental conditions. I was also a little freaked out. Like, what if it storms again like
Mhm.
that? You know, it's just that's not my personal value of excellence. Like the finish isn't where the excellence
Yeah.
is like grabbed onto. That's not where
Right.
it's sourced.
Yeah.
It's sourced from the process. And so
Right.
there's certain standards in the process that like have to be hit in order for me to feel like I'm
Uh-huh.
pursuing excellence.
Yeah.
And like walking it in is not that.
Yeah.
Putting my health at risk
Not
is
that.
not that. Having a 2-3 month recovery timeline because I didn't respect the stress of what was going on, not part of that. And
Yeah.
those are things that I had to learn in the past, but like I'm grateful for the opportunity to like check. I've had to work hard on this.
Yeah.
I've gone to therapy to
Love
work
that.
on these things. You know, where do we source
Mm.
our sense of love, acceptance? Where do we source our motivations?
Ultra running is a terrible place to source that from.
But to
like
be
I say that
honest,
knowing like that
that's-
is a well I return to again and again, looking for who I am I enough,
Right.
all of these things. It's so tempting, it's so easy, and it never fucking works.
Well, and exactly. And how many times and how many athletes are out there hearing that and they have, you know, all right, check yourselves, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Like, if we care about something, we source some of our identity, our sense of self-worth, love, acceptance,
Right.
all of that in the things that, you know, are our vehicles of self-expression.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think like how narrow is that sense of identity, that sense of well-being, sense of self-worth, sense of love, sense of acceptance,
Yeah.
belonging. How narrow is it?
Yeah.
Is it so narrow that you have to put your health at risk, maybe put other people's health at risk to get that, to
Yeah.
source that? That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
So, and if it's there for you in ultra running, guaranteed those same voices and driving factors are there for you in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
Constantly telling you, don't take that vacation with your family, keep working, work Saturdays, longer hours, get that extra rep in on your workout, even though you were told to do 2 hours, do 3. Like, that's that voice. That's
Yeah.
that same voice.
Yes.
So,
And that's not excellence.
no, that's not excellence. And like, excellence is sometimes doing what is hard. I felt
Yes.
for me at this moment.
Excellence is oftentimes doing what is
Yeah,
hard.
but for me in this moment, the DNF was easy.
Yeah.
And I used that
Maybe
as
not easy, but uncomplicated.
it was uncomplicated. It was the right decision. There was my biggest worry was like, oh man, I'm going to let Zoe down.
Mm.
I really wanted to do well as a team.
Yeah.
And like in retrospect, We wouldn't have done well as a team if I had hiked it out.
Actually, we might have. Like,
maybe.
There was definitely a pattern of like all of the women who won teams. Like it was like only a couple, like maybe 4 teams total finished because the DNF rates were so high.
I think I was in for like a 30-hour 100.
We might have come in 4th in the race.
I think I was like gonna like be out there
like under the cutoff, like golden hour.
Yeah, I had part of me was like, all right, I'll just go ask Amelia at Dry Lake, like, what's the cutoff? What's the latest I can possibly finish this thing?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, no.
Yeah, that's not what this is about.
You don't need to do that. That's not necessary. So anyways, I think DNFs are a good learning opportunity, obviously, because I got to figure out what the hell went on with my hydration.
Yeah.
Because I thought I had it down.
Yeah.
And it's been so solid at all the races since my last episode like this, which was Leadville.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of races since then.
Yeah.
So got to figure that out. Also, again, the litmus test.
Yeah.
How am I doing in my personal pursuit to not source all of my love, acceptance, all of my validation, all of that stuff in sport?
Yeah.
And I feel pretty good, like a B+ in that area, which to me is important because in this sport, you're going to fail a lot.
Yes.
I've been lucky.
More often than, I mean, depending on how you like look at it.
Especially if you race hard and you put yourself on the edge. I've been so lucky that this is only my second time DNFing.
Yeah.
And this is the first time like I DNF because I made mistakes with something during the race. My other DNF was completely
the car broke down, so like it was
unrelated to like performance.
Yeah.
And so, all right, where am I at in this process? And all right, I'm in a good spot. There's still work to be done. I get to go back to continue to go to therapy and continue to train and work on this stuff in all aspects of life. And that just makes my life better.
I love that.
I'm happy about it, honestly.
No temptation to do a revenge race, no desire to go out and hammer a workout to make yourself feel man enough since you didn't finish Run Rabbit. We joke.
You gotta hit me. You gotta hit me with that.
These are things we have seen. That is not specific to you as a coach. I have seen those exact things happen.
Well, I talk about, and I want to talk about like those voices around the acceptance, the validation, the sources of motivation, our identity, all of that. I mention that because, I've gotten to coach hundreds and hundreds of people just in the running space.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include the hundreds of people I coached in other individual sports before becoming a coach in this sport.
Right.
I have seen this stuff play out in many different ways. And it's important that we all work on this stuff and have opportunities to work on it. Failure is an opportunity to work on this stuff. Fail forward is something that like I think about and hear about all the time. But if we're not working on these things, chances are, we're going to end up in a reckoning moment. That's going to be hard on us. And likely it's going to be hard on everyone around you. And if you're not working on this stuff, likely you're already doing stuff that's hard on other people that are around you. And it's unnecessary.
Yeah. If you're not taking care of your problems, they're going to become other people's problems pretty quick.
Yeah. So, I see that as a coach.
Yeah.
And I meet that and have those conversations with athletes because that's the real work.
Right.
We do these things I do these things because they help to illuminate the areas where I need to do the real work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I get to come away with a win. Sometimes I come away with 20+ hour 100. Sometimes it's sometimes it's a DNF, and that's part of the sport, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of this process. And anyways, I've gone on and on about it, so that's all.
No,
I
think it's helpful. And again, like I know there've been times where like I've DNF'd and not talked about it on the podcast because of not having the same level of shame resilience that I currently have, or like not having the scenario where it felt like a sufficiently like safe boundaried space. And so it feels good
hard
that
to put yourself out there.
Right. Like it feels like, like being able to talk about it and own it and like not, be authentic to like, it's not the ideal outcome. Like I'm not 100% positive about it, but it happened and I'm processing it and we're moving forward.
And I think as coaches, it can be complicated. Like an old belief that I used to have was just like, okay, if I don't perform at a certain level, athletes won't want to work with me. They
Right.
won't think that my coaching advice is like valuable.
Right.
If I DNF, well, why would I listen to him? Because he can't even apply these things to
Right.
himself. And obviously, we have to understand we all have those voices. Where do they come from? How do we change those beliefs and those thought patterns? Well, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Go to therapy.
Yep.
Um, Go to therapy. I'll just keep, pause and repeat that. It
This
is,
podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp.com.
yeah, I mean, they should be our partner because
No, they
it
only
just,
pay $15 per 1,000 impressions.
wow. So we
Yes.
would make less
So,
than $15.
yes. Just saying, looked into partnering with them on YDS. So
Yeah. And I think that working on this stuff, obviously it has huge downstream impacts. I think I race with more joy
Mm,
because I've worked on this stuff, and I race freer
mhm.
because I'm not as constrained by the fear of failure, and that everything is wrapped up into that, and like the I'll lose it all
Yeah.
if I don't accomplish this. It's not just the athletes that are gonna, not want to work with me anymore. It's, the coaches that,
Mm,
contract with us. It's you as my partner. It's everybody, and
yeah.
like that. But like, honestly, if
Yes.
you sit down and really think about like how big your fear is, a lot of that's subconscious.
Yeah.
And we kind of laugh it off a little bit at like how crazy and grandiose those fears seem,
Right.
but they're legitimate
Sure.
and they drive your behavior.
Yeah.
And if those drive how you race, how you treat a moment in a race where maybe your health is at risk, you're going to make a lot of decisions that don't come from a very good place. And
That
it's
is
going to be
true.
very hard to eventually reach your potential. I know for me, like, yeah, I fucked this race up. I DNF'd it. But I can do that without fear, or
Yeah.
mostly without fear. And that likely because of that, I'll race freer in the future and
I love
probably
that.
have a better result.
Yeah. So death before DNF,
Death
hot or not?
hot.
No. I'm glad I'd be really bummed if you died.
No,
So
it's not. Come on. It's just running.
just running.
It's just running. We
Yeah.
love it, but also go home to your families.
Go home to your family.
Your extracurriculars.
You can't leave Bowie without a father, without a father figure.
So let me deflect a little bit. How did it feel to, I don't know, just be so freaking durable and finish the damn thing and end up with a great result and be faster than you were before in harder conditions?
I have
What was that like?
a lot of feelings. I'm extremely proud because, like I said, I don't always think of myself as a very tough person, but
Right.
objectively, anyone who finished that, tough. Like at the award ceremony the next day, I feel like we were all like the finishers were all just looking at each other, and even like we all went through a thing.
Shaken up.
We were all pretty
I
shaken.
was scared.
And yeah, I was scared, and it felt good to again like to be in the place to safely navigate that. Like the fact that I could feel pride after tells me that I wasn't like again genuinely didn't feel like I could die. It was a psychologically safe enough space that I could experience risk in a somewhat controlled setting
Yeah.
and move through it, and I really value that. So I feel tough now. Like I've done a bunch of races this year that were tough
Yeah.
and that like just require like that looking back and like anyone who does that has my respect. And so it's really hard to earn my respect. Like even for me, like it's almost probably harder for me than anyone, but
Well,
I left
clearly,
with my respect that day for sure.
I think it's interesting that you don't see yourself as very tough, because I see you as a really, really tough person. And at times during the race, I was thinking, I know Zoe's just, gritting it out in this storm, and
Just
this
blind running
isn't gonna
around.
this isn't gonna stop her from getting to Dry Lake. So you stay in it. And I was questioning, like, all right, am I gonna, like, is this storm ever gonna stop? Will
Mhm.
I ever dry out? Like, can I take my hands out from inside my jacket to
Yeah.
finally open a gel? I knew that you were out there pushing yourself, and you weren't gonna ever let up. And so, I do hope that you have a line in the sand too, where,
Yes.
you won't go beyond that and put your health and long-term well-being at risk. But I do think that sometimes we don't see ourselves in the way other people see us. I hope that maybe this helps to update your personal beliefs about who
Yes.
you are as a really tough and gritty person.
I will now conceive of and describe of myself as tough and gritty.
I hope so. I hope
Sure.
you're like, hi, I'm Zoe. I'm tough and gritty. Good to meet you.
I'm tough now. So that was good. I earned my own respect, and that's really good and important. That wasn't necessarily the thing, that wasn't a goal necessarily, but it was something I
Right.
walked away with, and I'm really grateful for that. Secondarily, I also made some hydration mistakes, partially due to cognitive, you're not a genius at the end of these things.
Yeah, executive
Gotta tell
functioning.
you, when you run through the
Woo.
night, I'm not getting smarter out there, guys. It's always funny because whenever I do well at a race, I always get a flurry of people reaching out to me, asking for coaching, as if doing good at a race. I cannot tell
means anything about your coaching.
The worst I have ever been at coaching is directly after 100s. You do not want me in your life at this time. So because of my brain not braining good, I was still eating gels, and I was like, this is I get really tunnel vision.
You get tunnel vision on your gels.
I do. I have a really strong stomach. I think it's a superpower of mine. However, when I'm dumb, I focus too much on the gels to the detriment of other things. So what that meant is I was getting in a lot of sodium and caffeine and calories from gels, but I wasn't taking in enough fluid. Which meant that my body was like, oh my God, we have to try to balance things, which meant that I was peeing an amount that sits somewhere between comical and medically extremely troubling.
Wow.
Every couple minutes. I kid you not.
That is, woo. You do have a strong stomach.
I do have a very strong stomach.
Getting nauseous.
I have a strong stomach and a weak bladder. That's who I am. Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm tough, and my bladder isn't, I guess. I was not gifted with the warrior bladder I feel I deserve.
Right.
So there's that. I guess we'll just let it all hang out on this episode.
I know. Other people likely were experiencing that too.
Yes.
And I don't know if they'll all be listening to this podcast. Likely not.
Yeah. So that's a symptom of having too much sodium and not enough. But again, in my sleep deprived state, I was like, well, I'm peeing so much, I should just stop taking in fluids.
Right.
Wrong.
I'm
not
hydrated.
Correct. That was not what was happening. So that having too much sodium relative to water isn't great for your body. So I spent several hours feeling really not good, but still able to fuel. Feeling really not good, but absolutely being in this space of
exacerbating
of feeling absolute dog shit, and also knowing that I didn't have a reason to quit because I was fine. I felt shitty, but I was fine, not putting myself in medical risk to my own assessment. I had been to this place before. I had occasionally not pushed through it, and that sucked.
Yeah.
So I went on this race. I went the deepest I've ever gone in my life. This is the hardest I have ever tried for a thing.
Yeah.
I went to the absolute bottom of myself. There were just hours where I was just muttering to myself, run this hill, step over that rock, run. I was so focused, and there just everything else in the world disappeared. It almost stopped registering with me that I had significant vision impairment to the point where Scott Jurek could diagnose that I had fluid accumulating in my eyes. And got to the final descent and was just I will run this as hard as I absolutely can.
On the final descent?
I didn't fall on the final descent, but I threw up a few times.
Okay.
So that was tough.
So you weren't that fucked up.
Well, I was falling on the single track, but I could see where the ground was.
You could see the ground.
I could see the
no
ground.
Depth perception.
The rocks on the ground were the problem. Which unfortunately at this race, there's a lot of rocks on the ground. So
it's a trail
that was
race.
tough. I sort of just felt like a monster truck, just burn, just trying to I'll just step on it, and if I fall, I fall. It's fine. I absolutely turned myself inside out for the finish. And was so focused. And I've never done that in a race before. I've definitely had races where last year at Leadville when I got second, things came together and I executed on my plan and I tried really hard, but I also didn't hit the bottom of the well. I didn't go to the absolute.
You scraped the bottom.
I scraped the absolute bottom this time. Again, in a place where I was safe and not putting my long-term health and risk and at well-being and
those
risk at
two
any time.
are not necessarily.
And I just want to continue to differentiate that.
Yes,
Like,
of course.
I continue to go not because I'm like tough and think it's cool to like run yourself into the ER. I don't. My insurance isn't good enough to do that. And I was proud of myself for continuing to like run as best I could in pretty shitty condition.
I mean, that's
And
amazing.
after a really tough like 20 hours. And so I was really proud of that. Bummed that I also made a hydration mistake that could have been like so easy to fix. And, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Follow your plan. There's a reason I had a plan. I just follow it because brain, not good.
It's tough. I remember for myself, there was a few moments surprisingly early in the race. I think it was because it was so dark,
Mm-hmm.
and like I was getting into those hours where typically I'm ready to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like, oh, my speech feels slow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm having trouble talking. I feel like I'm having trouble thinking. Or like I felt like normal skills for a while there started to go out the window. Then I started to get my sense of all of that back.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm throwing up.
Yeah.
Are you serious? I'm nauseous. Like I thought I was just like through that. Like one of my athletes was like, all right, it's your first race going through the night. It's going to be really hard twice.
Yeah.
The first time it's going to come pretty early. That's going to be the worst.
Yeah.
Then, there's going to be a moment a little bit later. It's not going to be as bad.
Yeah.
And I had gotten through the really bad
Yeah.
thing. And I was like, all right, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
you did it.
Yeah.
Keep going. No, full shutdown.
Full shutdown.
Damn it.
Yeah. So I was proud of myself for being in that place of like keeping going when like my body was just like I took it the furthest it's ever gone.
If you have a message out there for athletes who want to go deep like this, or maybe who feel like they can't, what would that message be?
I could only go that deep because I had done a ton of training. I don't think my fitness like 100% came out in the results. I got top 5, PR'd. I'm very proud of that. I competed through the very end. I was very focused on passing F4. I didn't. Shout out Jenny. You had an amazing race and I'm so proud of you and I can't wait to watch you race more. And I hope we get to race again. And I could only have done that well because I had trained so consistently. Like, again, did it give me the shiny number I wanted? Not necessarily, or the check I wanted? Maybe not. But, like, it still came through, maybe just not in a way that other people could interpret. But, like, I had the ability to give all of myself because I had built up a lot of Zoe to give. But then on the mental component, I did a mental taper for this race for sure.
Yeah.
I really tried to take care of myself and boundary myself and sleep well and live like just be kind to myself and not live the insane Zoe lifestyle that sometimes I want to live, so that I had a deep well. And it felt really good to go to the bottom of that in a controlled risk setting. It felt really good to go to the bottom of my mental well in a way that I was control of and had agency over, rather than like some dumb work thing came up that I'm not attached to, or because of like a life thing or like a family medical thing. Like there are times where we mentally, emotionally have to go to the well in life that are outside of our control, and that's not that fun. And being able to do it in a controlled way is actually extremely, I don't know if fun's the right word, but freeing, and feels really good to do that, to go all the way, to like just I fucking gave it all. And that felt really great. And I could only do that because I had like built so much of myself up to give. So again, did all of that work necessarily mean that like input equals exactly this output? No, but that's also not why I race. And so I walk away with a really great mixed bag of like, there's a lot of things that I'm really satisfied with. I have some definite things that I want to do better on. There's some real tangible takeaways. There's some times I let myself down and I didn't reach my A or B goal, and I'll own that. And I reached my C goal. That's great.
Yeah.
Got the C goal.
Love that.
And that's positive. And so I feel like normally my races have fallen into like one of two camps of like like second at Leadville, breakout performance, everyone thinks it's great and I'm getting so much validation and it's great and I'm awesome, or like a DNF and like it sucks.
Yeah.
And this one is a lot more in the middle. And I feel like for me that's a sign of growth, because there's some good with the bad and there's some things I did well and I can sense the growth, and then I still have some very clear next steps to take on my goal with running is a path of mastery at the 100-mile distance. I will never get there. You can't master it. That's why I want to.
Right.
Like, it is unmasterable. It is so hard. It is so slippery. You can learn and unlearn and relearn lessons again and again and again, and it never gets easier. You just get tougher, and I fucking love it. And it feels really great to know some like discrete things that I can do to take that, what I think is that next step on that never-ending path for me.
I love it. Maybe we'll leave it right there.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening, and hope there was some stuff in there that you can take with you into your next race or training block. We'll be back next week. As always, microcosmcoaching@gmail.com. Get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you.